In Montauk, New York, Maddie rushes out of her house when she sees her ex Gary use his tow truck to take away her car, because she owes property taxes on the home she inherited from her mother, and her sources of income are only bartending and Uber driving. Of paying that debt. Gary is mad at Maddie because she ghosted him, but Maddie still tries to flirt with him and says she's been thinking to believe her, but then Maddie's late night guest comes out of the house too. Maddie tries to pretend he's a cousin, but the guy begins getting affection. Maddie has no choice but to rollerblade to work. On her way there, she sees Gary's tow truck parked nearby. She immediately uses the chance to unfasten her car from the truck and tries to drive away, but she forgets about the extra hook and now she swims out. He lifts the hook and calls the police. Moments later, Maddie is bailed out by a friend and rushes to work to ask for a drink minutes before they're properly open, so Maddie ends up arguing with him to the point where the manager scolds her and sends her to do something. Maddie rants about her situation to her pregnant friend Sarah and her husband Jim. At that moment, Sarah finds an unusual Craigslist post to date their introverted 19-year-old son for the whole summer, and the payment would be a Buick Regal car. The next day, Maddie rollerblades to the family's house, which takes extra effort because she has to make her way up. Beckers ask some basic questions, and when they learn that Maddie is 32, they hesitate to hire her. However, Maddie, if the ad was still up is because all the other young girls failed them. So what they need is someone mature enough that will help their son gain experience. The Beckers like the idea and explain the situation. Their son Percy is a 19-year-old introvert, unless it's online. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and doesn't go to parties. The parents are worried that he is missing out on the teenage experience, a date, and build up his confidence before he goes off to Princeton. Maddie gets the job, but before she leaves the parents tell her natural to make him feel better about himself. After borrowing Jim's old van, Maddie puts on a seductive dress and shows up where she specifically asks for his help while she pretends she wants to adopt a dog. Percy shows her a dog named Milo while Maddie fails. Then they go to the office to fill out her application and Maddie has to drag a small couch to the desk to keep on flirting, but Maddie needs an excuse to keep on talking to him and offers him a ride home because she knows his address. When Percy wonders how, she keeps on flirting while Percy asks her questions, which makes him uncomfortable. He decides to end the interview quickly, and it's on his bag. At that moment Percy's co-worker Crispin comes to see what's going on, and Percy takes the chance to say he follows him outside and finds him grabbing his bicycle, so she offers to give him a ride again and puts the bicycle in the back of the van. There on the road, Maddie tries her best to carry on a proper conversation and makes a joke about Percy being her hostage. Between this and the creepy thing, we're scared. When Maddie takes a different route, Percy tries to ask for help with his phone but Maddie takes it from him. Assumes she's kidnapped him for real, so he throws paper spray at her eyes. Crying out in pain, Maddie explains she just thinks he apologizes as he helps wash her eyes with a hose before they agree to meet again tomorrow for a proper date. The following arrive wearing a suit with short pants because of the hot weather. The waitress asks for their order and Percy tries to get a soda, spits it out as soon as he takes a sip, and Maddie has to force him to drink more so he can learn to handle alcohol before college. She tries to keep up conversation. Suddenly they're uninterrupted by one of Maddie's ex-boyfriends, who brags about being married now and mocks Maddie for ghosting him. Leaves. Afterward, Maddie and Percy go for a walk on the beach. Maddie asks Percy to kiss and an argument ensues. To distract him, Maddie starts undressing slowly to let him take a good look before she jumps into the water, and Maddie wraps her arms around him to try to get him in the mood. Suddenly a group of drunk teenagers appear on the beach and make fun of them before stealing their clothes. Maddie yells at them, and when the teens don't listen, she comes out of the water naked to throw sand at their faces and start beating them up. Delicate area, but she recovers quickly and body slams a guy, scaring the group into leaving. Then Maddie goes back to Percy's use of violence, which angers Maddie as she points out that it was self-defense and that Percy needs to learn how to stand up for himself. Can't do it with strangers. He needs to have a connection first, especially for his first time. Annoyed and frustrated, bringing Percy's things with her. A naked Percy follows her and demands to have his clothes and phone back, but Maddie only gives it. Percy jumps on the hood of her car and keeps asking for his phone, but Maddie doesn't care and begins driving with Percy still on the hood. When the attention of the cops, and Maddie worries about potentially losing her license. In order to lose the police train. Afterward, the duo goes to Maddie's house, where she begins a dance for Percy. When Maddie asks, ends up kicking her. Next Maddie tries to dance on his lap, but Percy complains about the weight on his thigh, so Maddie switches on her lap instead. Then Maddie asks again if he wants to get down to business, and when Percy begins explaining he wants to but he's too nervous because of his lack of, Maddie raises his shirt and discovers he's got a rash caused by his anxiety, but she doesn't judge. She immediately feeling comforted, Percy opens up about how he dislikes being socially awkward because he's never made friends unless it's online or his former nanny. Maddie returns the favor and tells him how she's lived in this house her whole life to take care of her sick mom. Mother had only been a fling. After sharing such a sweet moment, they agree to start dating before getting intimate. The next few days, Maddie and Percy begin spending logs from the shelter, play laser tag, and win lots of things at the arcade, where they tease a kid until they get kicked out. They have lots of fun together, on Maddie. At the arcade, he spent his tickets on a beer hat for her and also gets a finger trap that he tricks her into using with him. He is patient and teaches him how to get out of it. They start chatting